Efficient transport services are a prerequisite of successful trading. The validity of this remark is universally recognized, and the innovative technical developments in transport services introduced in the past 40 years, which boosted efficiency and directly contributed to the spectacular growth of international trade, have further confirmed its accuracy. In many industrialized countries, transport is presently no longer a significant barrier to trade, although there is still scope for considerable improvement of the overall transport performance. On the other hand, traders in developing countries of Africa, Asia, Central and South America, and numerous East European countries are still faced with serious logistical and hardware problems when trying to organize transport services for their goods. They continuously risk losing some of their major export markets, seeing their export earnings seriously eroded, or losing opportunities to open up new markets. The problems faced in transport do not affect all traders equally. Large trading companies or industrial conglomerates often have their own vehicles, equipment and facilities, and their transport and distribution departments are staffed by professional teams with specialized knowledge and expertise, which enable them to competently manage and control all distribution activities. Medium-sized and small trading companies, however, have neither the physical means nor the in-house expertise to do so, and they mostly have to rely on indirect distribution channels involving middlemen and subcontractors along the transport chain. It seems, therefore, appropriate to focus special attention on the difficulties of small and medium-sized traders in developing countries, in particular of shippers and consignees who usually dispatch and receive goods in relatively small consignments carried by common user transport operators. In the first part of this program, therefore, we will present a case study in which we will follow, from the factory gate until its final destination, a typical consignment of manufactured goods exported by a developing country shipper for distribution on a major international market. This market is served by a host of suppliers, many from other emerging developing countries, so that profit margins are small and meeting the agreed delivery times an all-important condition. This case study will serve as the basis for a critical analysis of the major constraints in the transport chain and will assist in the subsequent formulation of recommendations for solving the identified problem areas. For many developing countries, textiles are an important manufactured export product. But because of the growing number of small manufacturers trying to sell their goods on the world markets, competition is fierce and relentless, and the availability and cost of transport become highly critical factors. The Shah Shirt Company exemplifies the difficulties that are regularly encountered during shipment and distribution of manufactured goods between developing countries and their overseas markets. The Shah Shirt Company is one of the many small textile manufacturers that have built up international export markets based on a reputation of high-quality products. Its market share has been growing steadily, notwithstanding severe competition, pressure on prices and small profit margins. At the moment, it can sell in North America and Europe its hand-stitched, pure cotton, long-sleeve shirts for an average price of $8 per unit, delivered to consignee's warehouse. It is Monday, 1st of March, and the Shah Shirt Company has just closed a deal with Gigi Fashions, a chain of men's boutiques, to deliver CIF, out of stock, a consignment of 100 gross, i.e. 14,400 shirts, within 45 days at the latter's central distribution point, customs duties paid in order to allow the goods to be in the retail outlets for the opening of Gigi's annual fashion sales week. With the current labour cost and production techniques used, the manufacturing cost is presently $4 per shirt. Once produced, the shirts are wrapped and placed in light cardboard boxes at a cost of 25 cents per shirt, ready for display in the retailer's shops. The cartons are then packed in large cardboard boxes and 12 of these strapped on a pallet. Medium quality 5-ply cardboard is used to keep the cost of the transport packing down to 15 cents per shirt. The dispatch office adds a further 10 cents per shirt shipped for completing export documentation. This then brings the total factory gate cost to $4.50 per shirt. The packing of Gigi's consignment is finished by 4 p.m. on 2 March, and the general arrangements for its transport to final destination completed by the Transport Department of the Shirt Company. Ship space has been booked, with the operator offering the first available sailing from the export port called Southport. The freight rate is the regular conference rate. The plan is to bring the palletized goods to an inland container depot some 50 kilometers from the factory, and then to pack the whole consignment into 3 20-foot containers for transfer by block train to Southport. There it will be loaded on a feeder vessel for carriage to the region's load center port, from where it will be shipped on board a mainline container vessel to its port of destination. The ultimate leg of the journey will be by road between the final discharge port and the consignee's distribution center. Because of a chronic shortage of suitable road transport and the dispatch office's unfortunate failure to inform the local road haulier that the consignment must be delivered at the ICD's railhead before 10 a.m. on Thursday 4 March, to allow sufficient time for the stuffing of the pallets into containers and to catch the Thursday block train — the block train service only runs on Mondays and Thursdays — the shirts leave the factory only on Friday 5 March at 2 p.m. Although the consignment arrives at the inland container depot just 1 hour later, the major part of it cannot be discharged from the trucks in normal working time because of the traditional afternoon peak and a shortage of gangs and forklifts. The Transport Department at Shars is informed that the last 3 trucks carrying 18 pallets will have to wait until Monday morning unless they are willing to pay the overtime supplement. To avoid 2 days demurrage charges on the trucks, authorization is given to discharge the pallets after regular hours against payment of the overtime charges and some additional speed money. On Monday, 8 March, the packing of the pallets in container should have proceeded from 8 a.m. onwards, but the detailed instructions are not finalized before noon, because some errors were made in the initial markings, and these had first to be corrected. The actual loading of the pallets in the containers is therefore to be delayed until after the meal break, and this means that the consignment misses the departure of Monday's block train as well. In fact, due to a persistent shortage of handling equipment, the stuffing of the containers is only completed at 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning 9 March. The 3 containers are then stacked in the container export yard, waiting for the next scheduled departure of the block train. It is now Thursday, 11 March. The containers have been loaded on the block train for their transfer to Southport, some 800 kilometers away. Because of the incoming train's late arrival at the ICD and slow container discharge and loading operation, its departure is delayed by 2 hours. Finally, by 4 p.m., Gigi's consignment is truly on its way to the loading port. Nevertheless, it is certain to miss the sailing of the next feeder vessel scheduled to leave Southport on Friday night, as it takes 2 days to complete the train journey, given that the many hold-ups en route due to single track and poor maintenance result in an average train speed of only 20 kilometers per hour. In actual fact, the block train only arrives on Saturday evening, some 14 hours late, after being stopped by a faulty signal box and 2 minor accidents on the track. The containers are duly discharged by the port terminal operator the same evening and placed in the container export yard, where they are expected to stay until the arrival of the next feeder vessel some 4 days hence. Although up to this point the consignment of the Shirt Company seemed to have attracted quite a bit of bad luck, events now take a turn for the better with the timely arrival of the feeder vessel on Wednesday morning, 17 March. The uneventful loading of all 48 export boxes, including the 3 containers for Gigi Fashions, and the departure on schedule for the 1,000-mile long voyage to link up with the regional load centre port and the departure of the mainline container vessel to its final destination. Because of the dispatch problems encountered earlier with the Gigi Fashions consignment, it had already been rebooked on the Good Fortune Voyage 28, scheduled to sail Wednesday 24 March, with the closing date for export cargoes set at noon on the 23rd. The feeder vessel from Southport arrives as scheduled on Friday night 19 March, and the discharge of all her containers is completed early the next morning. The Shirt Company shipment has thus 3 more days to dwell on the transshipment yard of the International Container Terminal. When finally the loading of the Good Fortune starts as planned on 24 March at 2 p.m, the 3 containers with Gigi Fashion's shirts are amongst the first to be loaded on board. Nothing interferes with the scheduled department of the Good Fortune for its final destination port, and after an uneventful sea voyage of some 10,000 nautical miles, the vessel docks safely at 6 a.m. on Monday 12 April, thereby completing the main haul in just over 18 days. By 6:30 a.m. the discharge operations have started, and the 3 containers destined for Gigi Fashions are lifted out of the vessel by 11:30 a.m. They are placed in the import yard, waiting for clearance and their transport to the retail chain's distribution centre, their final destination. Fast Freight Forwarding has been instructed by the Shah Shirt Company's Transport Department to clear the goods at the entry port and organise appropriate inland transport. For unclear reasons, they wait until Tuesday 13 April before contacting the agents of the Good Fortune, and only obtain the bills of lading against payment of the freight on Wednesday 14 April, a full 2 days after the arrival of the vessel. The next day, a customs entry is lodged by EDI, and the necessary information contained in valuation form, packing list, invoice, import licence and original bills of lading is submitted to the customs. The clearing of the goods proceeds normally, and on Friday 16 April, Fast Freight Forwarding is advised that the containers must be brought to the customs clearance zone on the terminal for inspection. The content of one of the containers is physically checked the next day, which requires its complete unpacking and repacking. After verification of the import licence, the invoice and the description of the goods, the customs informed the forwarding agency that an inappropriate duty class was marked on the valuation statement. Hence, not only will a higher tariff level be applied, but additionally a fine will be imposed. After consultation with the Transport Department at Shah Shirt Company, a request for a settlement by agreement is filed on Monday 19 April, and the next day, 20 April, the customs inform Fast Freight Forwarding this has been accepted and that the fine will be waived. At long last, the containers are ready for delivery from the import stack, and Fast Freight Forwarding can order the necessary inland transport. It pays the outstanding dues to the Port Authority and the storage rent, after the free period, to the terminal operator. The latter receives final authority to release the 3 containers from the shipping line on Wednesday 21 April. And when the J. Mack Haulage Company's trucks arrive at the terminal at 2 p.m. sharp with the appropriate instructions and documentation, the containers with Gigi Fashion shirts are promptly delivered on truck. Unfortunately, heavy traffic and construction works create serious congestion on the road between the container terminal and the distribution centre, and as a result, the consignment only arrives around 4:45 p.m. at the gate of the centre, too late for unpacking of the containers the same day, as work normally finishes by 5 p.m. Finally, on Saturday, after a total transit time of 53 days, the containers are unpacked and the individual pallets with Shah shirts placed in the racks ready for onward distribution. However, the ultimate distribution to the retail outlets can only start the next Monday, and depending on the location of the boutiques, will take from 1 to 4 days. Regrettably, the much publicised Fashion Sales Week is over, and the management of Gigi's has not wasted any time to notify the Shah Shirt Company by fax and confirmed letter of the non-respect of the agreed delivery dates. It also bitterly complains about the lack of information on the status of the shipment and its expected arrival date. They summon the Shah Shirt Company either to pay a substantial indemnification to cover the consequential loss of revenue, or to face the logical consequences and lose all future business from Gigi's. More bad news is to come, however, since after depalletizing the cartons in the distribution centre, staff of Gigi's note several damaged boxes with retail cartons in poor condition. Also, after distribution of full pallet loads, some of the larger retailers complain about the bad state of the display cartons, so that they have to repack the shirts or otherwise sell them at the next bargain sales with a substantial discount. GG Fashions, although very satisfied with the quality and finish of the shirts, some of the best available on the market, is most unhappy with the transport arrangements and threatens to place its future orders with one of the many new entrants on the shirt market from Eastern Europe and South America. And confirmed letter of the non-respect of the agreed delivery dates. It also bitterly complains about the lack of information on the status of the shipment and its expected arrival date. They summon the Shah Shirt Company either to pay a substantial indemnification to cover the consequential loss of revenue or to face the logical consequences and lose all future business from Gigi's. More bad news is to come, however, since after depalletizing the cartons in the distribution centre, staff of Gigi's note several damaged boxes with retail cartons in poor condition. Also, after distribution of full pallet loads, some of the larger retailers complain about the bad state of the display cartons, so that they have to repack the shirts or otherwise sell them at the next bargain sales with a substantial discount. GG Fashions, although very satisfied with the quality and finish of the shirts, some of the best available on the market, is most unhappy with the transport arrangements and threatens to place its future orders with one of the many new entrants on the shirt market from Eastern Europe and South America. The Shah Shirt Company case study, although only presenting a single shipment, be it of a typical developing country export product, is nevertheless exemplary.